Listen, y'all, something huge is brewing. And I mean that in more than one way. Okay. On the basketball court, Mavericks are now riding a 2-game winning streak, our first winning streak of the season. And this comes after a 10-point win on the road in Denver against the second best team in the Western Conference. Now, off the court, right, we've got some more chit chat happening on the rumor mill. And word is there's a certain Eastern Conference team that may or may not be looking at our roster to find their version of Pascal Siakam. You're going to want to stick around to find out who that might be. I am your host, Ethan, the advisor Clayton, and this is Your Mavs, a Dallas Mavericks podcast where all are welcome, but y'all better behave. First, let's talk through the box score. Okay, it was a 131-121 victory. Again, this was against the Denver Nuggets. It was on the road. Quick story, guys. I don't know if you know this. I live in Denver, and I was just this close to going to the game. I probably could have gotten tickets for like $8. I really regret not going, but I couldn't find anybody to go with me. I didn't want to sit in the nosebleeds by myself. But that's beside the point. But anyway, yeah, we fell behind early. We gave up 41 points in the first quarter. It looked like Nikola Jokic was going to end with a 60-point, 20 rebound, 20 assist type of game just based off of the numbers he was putting up. Okay, it was kind of crazy. But then all of a sudden, the Mavericks figured it out. And, zooming out a little bit, the Mavericks wound up shooting 56% from the field. Okay, and they were connecting on 52% of their three-pointers. Like, what in the world? Is this the same team that we've been talking about that was on pace to be the worst offense in the NBA history? Could be flukes one way or the other, but good grief, we were shooting the cover off the ball last night. And all of this with, a higher offensive output. Now it looks like 3 games in a row that we've really started to turn up the dial offensively, and we've scored right at 120 or more than 120. I feel like that's a pretty good milestone for us. But in the midst of all of that, we're taking better care of the ball. And last night against Denver, we only turned the ball over 8 times. So pretty much every other game this season has been double-digit numbers in that category. And you've heard me harp on it over and over, but I like that we're taking better care of the ball. We're going to talk about why that might be here in just a moment. But let's talk about some high points on the box score here. Our leading scorer was Anthony Davis. He had a 32.13 rebound double-double. Cooper Flagg, by the way, playing extremely well, starting at the 4. Maybe that's his natural position. I don't know. But he had a 24.8 rebound output. Guy who stole the show, though, Ryan freaking Nembhard. Okay. That rookie combination between Ryan and Cooper last night was insane. They combined for, 52 points between the two of them. Nembhard just had total control of the offense. He did not turn the ball over. He was I believe, the only rookie in NBA history with a 25-point, 10-assist type of night with no turnovers. So incredible output. And this I thought was shocking. He shot 86% from the field. He added 4 3-pointers to our kind of hot shooting type of night. He was insane last night. Right? I certainly don't expect him to do that often, but we're going to appreciate the heck out of it when he does. And can I just say, again, for probably the millionth time now, get that man a standard contract, right? Let's not roll the dice and hope for the best that the eligibility of 50 games will kind of spread out evenly throughout the rest of the season. I don't think we can count on that because of injuries and because of offensive reasons. And this is kind of what I was talking about a moment ago. I said the Mavericks are taking better care of the ball. I mean, that's subjective, right? But you look over the last couple of games, we've started an actual point guard, an actual floor general at the 1, Ryan Nembhard. Okay. He led the NCAA in assists last season. He knows how to read the game. He's got good vision, and he is afraid of nothing. Okay. So in the midst of his aggression, in the midst of his creativity and all that, he's also taking super good care of the ball. So we're seeing a higher offensive output, and much fewer turnovers with him starting at point guard. So I want to see more of that. Again, get that man his contract. There was one glaring issue from last night's game that you can see very clearly on the box score, and that's free throws. Okay, it's continuing to be a problem. We shot 64% from the free throw line last night. I don't like that. As I've said before, we're really good at getting to the line. We're one of the best teams in the NBA in that regard. But we're really terrible at connecting from the free throw line. And I feel like our season percentage is inching closer and closer to 70, and we do not want to be in that territory. We certainly don't want to see it dip below that. But yeah, another poor shooting night from the free throw line. Hopefully we can kind of work that out just by pure reps, right? Continuing to get to the line. Now, I'm gonna talk about AD for a moment. This was an inspired performance from him. Again, it was a 32.13 rebound output. I say inspired. It was especially on the offensive side of the floor. He showed a lot of his low post prowess last night. He was overwhelming the defenders with physicality. He had nice touch around the rim. All of this was in the midst of his name being at the power forward. I mean, center of a lot of trade discussions. You see what I did there? I wrote out that joke and I thought it was going to lay in super well, but my delivery was off. He's been at the center of trade discussions, right? Whether we, pay attention or super close attention to the specific teams that may or may not be interested, his name is at the center of all of this mess. And AD has even talked about it. He's like, look, we're just trying to win games. I try to ignore all the noise. And he did that in spades last night. He was incredible. Again, inspired performance. And I mentioned that he's been at the center of trade discussions. And speaking of, let's wrap up today's episode talking about some trade speculation. It was reported yesterday. When I say yesterday, today is Tuesday. It was reported that the Chicago Bulls are having internal discussions about our guy, Anthony Davis. And you've actually heard me talk about Chicago before. I'm not going to take credit for this idea. I'm not going to take credit for the trade package that we're going to talk through here in just a moment. But Chicago makes a lot of sense. Or again, Anthony Davis is from Chicago, so he'd be essentially coming home. The Chicago Bulls started off the season super hot. I believe they were 5-0. And since then, they've dropped to a play-in spot in the Eastern Conference as the 10 seed. Now, I don't want to put too much stock in what seed they're at right now, because again, they're probably like half a game away from like 4th or 5th seed. That doesn't matter, but the point is still the same. They started off strong. Now they're fading. And what they're doing is they're trying to emulate the success that the Indiana Pacers had last season, right? Where they have a deep bench. They play with pace. They kind of run. They've got, guys that can shoot, that kind of thing. And what they feel that they're missing right now is their Pascal Siakam, kind of that two-way monster. Now, Anthony Davis's name was not specifically mentioned whenever they talked about like kind of that archetype that they're looking for a Pascal Siakam, but it was reported that they are having internal discussions about Anthony Davis. So you put 2 and 2 together, it feels like they're looking for a specific thing, and I believe they have found it in a specific person, Anthony Davis. So what do we get in return? Okay, let's ask Zach Lowe what he thinks we should get in return. I love this trade idea. I've either mentioned this specific trade before or some variation of it. But in a nutshell, we are, again, sending out Anthony Davis. In return, we are getting Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, Kevin Huerter, and 2 first-round picks, right? I'm not going to get crazy into the weeds with the picks, right? Because it could be a swap. It could be 2028. I don't know. I just want first-round picks. The big key for me here, you've heard me talk about Kobe White before. I really want him on this roster. He's a young, dynamic guard. He's a playmaker who has really grown as a distributor. He's a really streaky shooter. He doesn't constantly have to have the ball in his hands. Why would Chicago want to give up someone young like Kobe White? Well, whenever they were hot to start off the season, Kobe White was recovering from an injury. So they had some sort of chemistry on the court without him playing. So they don't necessarily need him for their long-term success if they look at their current roster and how it's constructed. The other piece, Vucevic, like why would Chicago want to give up Vucevic? He's certainly having an up year. He's averaging a double-double. He's shooting the ball efficiently. Can we all just agree, though, that Anthony Davis is an upgrade from Vucevic? And I'm not trying to disparage Vucevic. I'd actually be really happy to have him on our roster. And I'll tell you more about why in a second. But if you're Chicago, you look at the skill sets those two big men bring, and they're similar in some regards, but Anthony Davis is more athletic. He's younger. He's faster. He can do a little bit more on the defensive end. So I think Chicago very clearly could view Anthony Davis as an upgrade over Vucevic. Now, Kevin Huerter, that's not something we're excited about. That's not, I mean, Chicago would certainly be excited to have that expiring contract get off their books, which, going back to Vucevic real quick, he's also on an expiring contract. That's a big win-win here. So if he plays well for us, great. We can try and extend him on a team-friendly contract. If not, great. There goes, what is that, $25 million that comes off of our books this summer. But yeah, going back to Kevin Huerter, he's a scorer. He's a shooter. I feel like maybe he hasn't found the right situation so far in the NBA, and I'm not saying that coming to Dallas is the perfect situation, but it could be a nice change of scenery, and we can always use the shooters. Let's see. But yeah, the big appeal here, besides bringing in a bigger name like Kobe White, is the expiring contracts. Because as I mentioned, Vucevic is on a $25 million expiring contract, and then Kevin Huerter, I believe, is another $18 million that is expiring. So that's about $43 million coming off the books if we decide, hey, this isn't working, we want to go a different direction, or we want to refresh our roster. Great. That's a nice bit of cap space that suddenly enters the chat here. Right. And if we are putting all our chips at the center of the table and building around Cooper Flagg, well, great. That cap space is going to be huge. It's going to be essential for us to build a contending type of team, because it has been quoted that Kyrie Irving is a building block for the future. Cooper Flagg. I don't know if that means anybody that wasn't named in that list is on the trading block. I don't pretend to know these things anymore. But I am excited about the possibilities, and I do believe something huge is brewing. Again, on the court, we're winning, right? We're starting to score a lot more points. The coincidence is that we have started an actual floor general at the point guard, especially over these past two games, and we're not turning the ball over. So on the court, like we may actually put together a nice little win streak. Good or bad, depends on the day, I guess, right? Because sometimes I'm like, hey, let's go full tank. I don't want to see these wins. But gosh, guys, winning is so much fun, especially winning on the road against the Denver Nuggets. But something huge is brewing there. It seems like maybe our team is really starting to find their stride, really connect. We'll see, right? But off the court, something huge is also brewing. Again, it's a lot of chit chat about Anthony Davis, and specifically today, I'm honing in on Chicago. It makes a lot of sense for them to bring in Anthony Davis. He's an upgrade to their roster. It is more of a, hey, we want to be aggressive to contend, right? Because we showed everybody that we have potential as a team. Now let's bring in a star to move that tile. I think it's a great idea. Do it, freaking do it. And I would be stoked with what we're getting in return. Don't even let me get into the weeds on the first round picks, because guys, this is going to be a really deep draft. And, if we get one or two, maybe three shots at the first round in this next draft, good grief. We talk about building for the future, talk about building around Cooper Flagg. That is certainly an exciting way to do that in a deep draft class. But guys, that is all I have for you today. Thanks for hanging around for a few minutes here. I'll be recording today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Saturday. And the goal is to have all these episodes posted by 10 a.m. Eastern time. So keep an eye out, but make sure you hit like, subscribe, hit the bell on your screen so you can be notified when the next episode drops. But until next time, party on. Y'all be good.